That's not a theory. That's where we are right now. Two different forensic audio experts. Same piece of evidence. Completely opposite conclusions. One claims you can hear someone ask, "Is he dead?" The other says, "There's nothing even close." Both are qualified. Both analyzed the same distress call. Both used professional equipment. And the space between those two opinions? That's where this entire case lives right now. Because what you hear in 37 seconds of audio could determine what happened to Nolan Wells on July 4th, 2026. Here's what we know for certain. A boat was sinking. Someone called for help. Nolan wasn't on that boat when it was towed back. 2 days later, his body was found. Everything else? That depends on what you think is in that audio. And right now, the people who should know, the experts, can't agree. This is not a case about what happened on Horn Island. Everyone's already formed opinions on that. This is about one piece of evidence.
Show assistance, Vicky speaking. How can I help you?
Hey, we're at the west tip of Horn, and our bilge pump stopped working. We're sinking. Can y'all please come? We have a membership.
All right, of course. How far is the water coming up, sir? Can you give me a description? Ankles? Hello?
Hey.
Yes, how far is the water coming up, sir?
It's coming up. We're just sinking. I don't know. Like we're going down now.
All right, well, let's get you going. Membership number or phone number listed on the account, sir?
I don't know the phone number. It's either Jerry Atkinson. I think it's Jerry Atkinson. Try that.
All right.
I know we have a membership, like guaranteed. I don't have the tag
Unless
on
you
here.
have a
We got ripped
membership
off.
number or anything, it's okay. I'll get you over to the captain. What's the best phone number to reach you at?
Reach me at 2.
All right. And is everybody on board in good health otherwise?
Yeah, everybody's
How
on
many?
board.
All right. Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
What?
Do you need the United States Coast Guard?
No, we do not need that.
All right. All right. Do you have your current GPS coordinates?
Let me go look.
If not, I can send you a text message.
North. Are you ready?
Yes, sir. I'm available.
North 30 degrees. By 4672.
All right. 4672. All right. And you were breaking up a little bit. Can you just repeat it one more time to make sure I have it correct?
Sorry, look.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, what?
So you're breaking up. If you need assistance, do you have a VHF radio?
No, we do not have the VHF radio.
All right. Well, let's try to get you going because you don't have good cell phone reception. Can you verify your coordinates one more time?
Okay, my coordinates are 30 degrees by 14.684 north, and then west by 88 degrees by 46.79.
Right. Looks like you're on Horn Island, correct? Are you
Yes,
on
we are
Horn
at Horn
Island?
Island. Yes.
All right. Is the boat sinking or you have it aground?
We were sinking, yes.
Is it aground is the question?
No, we're not aground. We are in 17 foot of water. We're in 31 foot of water.
All right. Have to ask. What do you want to do? Do you want to be towed back?
I want to get this boat unsank and towed back, yes.
All right. Where would you like it towed to, sir?
You can tow it to Ocean Springs Harbor, or Fort Bayou Launch.
All right. How many adults and children on board?
No, there's no children.
So, is there anybody on board? How many adults, sir? That was the question.
Where is this?
Hello, can you hear me?
Gotta jump in and pull the plug, Bart, while you're going.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yep, I just need you to answer these questions so I can get you over to the captain.
Okay.
How many adults on board?
There are 0 adults on board.
There's nobody on board the boat?
No. Nobody
right.
here is over the age of 21.
Sir, that was not the question. Is there a person? Is there a person, a living individual on the boat? A person, a living individual on the boat?
Hello?
Is there a living person, someone breathing on the boat? Is there anybody on the boat?
Yes, there's lots of people breathing on the boat.
All right, how many people, sir?
Like 7.
All right, thank you. Does everyone have life jackets on or available to them?
Yes, we have life jackets available.
All right, verify what boat's sinking.
A Triton, 22-foot offshore, 22-foot Triton offshore sea flight hull.
All right. All right. Please hold. I'm transferring you to the local captain now.
Okay, thank you.
This is Captain Seth.
Hi, Captain Seth. This is Vicky from International. How you doing today?
Doing good. How are you?
Good, good. I apologize ahead of time. I really do. You're going to have a fee-for-service come up under Jerry.
Okay.
It sounds like a bunch of kids on board on Horn Island. He's letting me know that his father's a member, but he can't give me any information. And he's saying the boat is sinking, and he's on Horn Island. It's just unfortunate. He's just a kid. There's a lot going on. So
Right.
he said there's about a lot of people on board. He says he thinks about 7. I'm guessing they're all under 18.
Okay.
And I'm not trying to be rude. He wants you guys to go out there and unpump the boat and then tow it in.
Do you know what kind of boat it is?
He said a Triton 24-footer, but that's all he can give me.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just actually got off the phone with his grandpa, who I'm guessing is the owner of the boat, and
Is it
he
Jerry?
said that Jerry. Yeah, he said.
Okay.
I just hung up with him. He said that they don't need any help right now, but if something changes, they'll call me back. So
Oh,
I'm
right.
guessing that they may have figured it out, because that's what he said. So they're in a panic and their boat won't crank.
Yeah,
Or,
they're in a panic. He's saying the
So-
bilge is not keeping up. I asked for Coast Guard. He said no, but he's just really upset on the back end. And, I get it. It's a
Okay.
kid. He just doesn't understand.
oh, okay. Do you still have him on the line?
Yes, I still have him on the line. And again, I couldn't find, he couldn't give me anything regarding his grandfather's, membership, so it's just under Jerry fee for service.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I just talked to. If you want to, we're so tied up right now. We can't really do any non-member jobs right now.
Is Jerry a member? Did you find out if he was a member or not?
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it's his boat or what. I'm not sure what's going on with it. But yeah, transfer the kid over. I'll talk to him, and then I'll call his grandpa back as well.
All right. And did you want me to look up Jerry's membership number or anything like that to see if he's up? I know you guys are
You can
swamped.
try this cell phone number.
All right. Yep. Jerry. Yeah, he's an active member. Hold on.
What kind of boat do you have on there? Same boat?
Yeah, he's one. Yeah, he's one of your members. Yep, 22-foot Triton. All right. I'll just disregard this one. I'm gonna send you over an accurate one under this Jerry Ackerson one. Okay, he's one of your members. You'll get in a couple minutes. Okay.
Okay, perfect. All right. And yeah, just transfer this kid over whenever you get a chance.
All right, here's the backstory. I ran a community poll and realized over 40% of my audience are CapCut editors. That's literally almost half.
All right, transfer him now. Thank you again, Captain.
All
Stay
right.
safe out there. It's crazy. Have a drink.
Oh, it's wild.
And whether science can tell us what's real, or if we're all just hearing what we want to hear, the sea tow call was released by Mississippi authorities on July 26, 2026, about 3 weeks after Nolan died. It's 37 seconds long, chaotic, panicked. A teenage voice tells the dispatcher the bilge pump stopped working. They're sinking. 7 people on board. The dispatcher tries to get details, GPS coordinates. How high is the water? The caller struggles to answer. On its face, it's exactly what it claims to be. An emergency. A boat in trouble. nothing more. But TMZ enhanced that audio, and according to them, once you clean it up, you can hear something else entirely. Background voices, saying is he dead, saying Nolan, saying check his chest and wake up. TMZ posted the enhanced version online. Millions of people listened, and many of them swear they hear it too. Notice this. The words weren't suggested first, and then people went looking. TMZ identified specific phrases. At specific timestamps, 12 seconds in, they say, you can hear, is he dead? That claim spread everywhere. It changed the entire conversation around this case. Because if those words are real, if someone on that boat said, is he dead, while calling for help about a sinking vessel, then the official story, the one where Nolan stayed on the island voluntarily, doesn't make sense. But here's the question we're sitting with today. And it's not the one most people are asking. Can enhanced audio actually reveal words that aren't there? Or is this a case of perception filling in gaps where there's only noise? That's not a philosophical question. That's forensic science. And the experts can't agree. Digital forensics expert Robert Fried analyzed both versions, the original from Mississippi authorities and the TMZ enhanced version. He appeared on Jesse Weber Live, laid out his findings. First problem. The TMZ audio is 20 seconds longer than the original. Second problem. Different digital fingerprint. That means it's not just the same file with filters applied. Something was added or altered at the file level. Fried's team at Page One Inc. ran transcriptions. Used professional forensic software, the kind law enforcement uses. His conclusion? He could not corroborate TMZ's claims. Not a single phrase. Not, is he dead? Not Nolan. Nothing. There was nothing like that close to it in the transcriptions that we saw. That's a direct quote from Fried. But then he said something else, something that explains why this audio has torn people apart online. When I first heard about some of the words that were apparently heard, my mind was automatically going to that as well. Think about what that means. Once someone tells you what to listen for, your brain starts filling in the blanks. It's called auditory pareidolia, the same phenomenon that makes people hear words in white noise or songs played backward. Fried's not saying TMZ lied. He's saying human perception is unreliable, especially with distorted audio. And once the idea is planted, you can't unhear it. But here's where it gets complicated. Because the Wells family hired their own audio experts. And according to civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who represents the family, those experts are conducting their own review. Crump announced it at the National Urban League Conference, July 30th, 2026. He didn't release their findings yet, but the fact that they hired independent engineers means they believe there's something worth examining. Janetta Brantley, an audio engineer, defended the enhanced version publicly. She told Atlanta Black Star she fears nothing, encouraged federal investigators to do their own analysis. They have the equipment to break down and analyze the words being said. That's what she said. She believes the FBI's forensic tools could produce an even clearer version. So now you have two camps. One says the enhanced audio reveals nothing. It's digital noise, pareidolia, people hearing what they expect to hear. The other says there's something there, something worth investigating, something that proper federal equipment could clarify. Both can't be right. But here's what makes this so much harder. The audio was redacted before release. Robert Fried confirmed that. Account numbers were removed. Potentially other information embedded in the file. Which means the version the public has, the one everyone's analyzing, might not be complete. Law enforcement has the original, the full file, unredacted, with all metadata intact. If there's something to hear, they've heard it. But they haven't said a word about it. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office hasn't commented. The District Attorney's Office hasn't returned calls. So the public is left analyzing a redacted file, with incomplete information, and coming to wildly different conclusions. Now think about the mechanics of this for a second. If someone on that boat said, "Is he dead?" while calling for help, what does that tell us? It tells us Nolan was in medical distress, on the boat, at the time of the call. That would directly contradict the statements from his friends, who say he chose to stay on Horn Island, with a girl. and wasn't on the boat when they left. But if the phrase isn't there, if it's just distortion and confirmation bias, then the audio doesn't change anything. It's still just a panicked call about a sinking boat. And that's the entire case in a nutshell. What you believe about those 37 seconds determines what you think happened. There's another layer to this. Audio forensics isn't like DNA. It's not binary. Dr. Carol Owen, a forensic audio expert who spoke to Yahoo News, explained it. What you hear depends on what you're listening with. Your phone speaker, cheap earbuds, professional studio monitors. We're going to have different opinions, she said. That's a quote from an expert. She's not saying the science is flawed. She's saying audio interpretation has variables. Even trained professionals using proper equipment can disagree. Because audio is layered, frequencies overlap, background noise bleeds through. Enhancement can clarify, but it can also introduce artifacts, digital sounds that weren't in the original. And once you enhance something, you've changed it. The question becomes, are you revealing what was always there, or are you creating something new? TMZ didn't say definitively that the words are there. They said it sounds like someone might be saying. They said some folks swear they hear. That's careful language. It's presenting what people perceive, not claiming forensic certainty. But the impact was the same. Because millions of people listened, and many of them heard it. And you can't put that back in the bottle. Warren Hudson, one of Nolan's friends who was on the trip, addressed the audio. He said the group heard the enhanced version, and they're telling people around them it's just panic from the boat sinking. That the call was made by Wyatt Pyron, one of the teens on board, while the bilge pump failed and water was coming in. According to Hudson, there's nothing sinister in the background. Just chaos, fear, a boat full of teenagers thinking they might drown. But Hudson's also a witness, and witnesses have a stake in the narrative. That doesn't mean he's lying. It means his interpretation isn't neutral. Same with the family's experts. They're hired to find answers, to examine evidence the family believes has been overlooked. And same with Freed. He's analyzing from a purely technical standpoint. No emotional investment. Different motivations, different frameworks, different conclusions. Here's what we know the family wants. Christine Wansley, Nolan's mother, said it plainly. We will not rest until we get answers. Not a predetermined verdict, not a specific person blamed. Answers. What happened in those hours? What does the evidence actually show? Was there something on that boat that explains why her son didn't come home? The audio is just one piece, but it's become the piece everyone's focused on, because it's tangible. You can listen to it, form your own opinion. Unlike witness statements, which you have to take at face value. Unlike the state autopsy, which hasn't been released. Unlike GPS data, which only shows where a boat went, not what happened on it. The audio feels like evidence you can evaluate yourself. But maybe that's the problem. Because most people listening aren't forensic experts, don't have professional equipment, don't understand compression artifacts or frequency isolation. They're listening on their phones, with preconceived ideas about what happened, in an environment where the stakes feel massive. And in that context, what you hear says more about what you believe than what's actually there. Robert Freed explained it perfectly. Even he, a trained expert, felt his perception shift once he knew what phrases people claimed to hear. His mind went there automatically. That's not a flaw. That's how human brains work. We pattern match. We fill gaps. We make meaning from chaos. It's why people see faces in clouds, hear voices in wind. It's not weakness, it's biology. But it makes audio forensics incredibly difficult, because you can't separate the evidence from the observer. So where does that leave the case? Right now, in limbo. The Wells family's experts haven't released their findings yet. Law enforcement hasn't confirmed or denied what they hear in the full, unredacted file. TMZ stands by their enhanced version, says people can judge for themselves. And Robert Freed says forensic transcription software found nothing that matches the claimed phrases. No arrests have been made. No charges filed. The investigation, according to the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, is ongoing. An independent autopsy, commissioned by the family, came back inconclusive. Cause and manner of death, undetermined, pending further investigation. That autopsy was done by Dr. Roger Mitchell, a forensic pathologist, but the body had already been autopsied by the state, major organs removed, advanced decomposition. Mitchell wrote that those factors significantly limited his examination. He couldn't rule out foul play, but he also couldn't confirm it. So the audio is one of the only pieces of evidence still generating new information. Or at least, the perception of new information. And that's why the expert division matters so much. Because if seasoned professionals can't agree on what's there, how is a jury supposed to? How are investigators supposed to know what weight to give it? Audio forensics expert Carol Owen said she believes law enforcement has done their own analysis, or will. They have resources the public doesn't, equipment, original files, context from the investigation. If the audio contains something relevant, it will factor into their findings. But until then, it's speculation. Informed speculation. Technical speculation, but speculation nonetheless. The family wants the FBI involved. Ben Crump called for outside authorities to review the phones of the friends who were with Nolan, and to analyze the audio using federal resources. That hasn't happened yet. Whether it will, depends on whether the case escalates, whether federal jurisdiction applies, whether local authorities request assistance. Right now, it's still a local investigation, and the distress call is still just a distress call, unless it's not. That's the maddening part. We don't know. Experts don't agree, and the people who do know aren't talking. Notice this. The audio dispute isn't just about what someone said on a boat. It's about what happens when the physical evidence doesn't give clear answers. When the only people who know what happened have already given statements, and when every piece of evidence gets interpreted through the lens of what you already believe. That's where this case lives. In the space between what we can prove and what we suspect. Between what technology can reveal and what human perception fills in. And that space is getting wider, not narrower. Because here's what audio evidence was supposed to do. It was supposed to be objective. A recording of what actually happened, immune to memory distortion or witness bias. But in practice, it's become the opposite. It's a Rorschach test. People hear what aligns with their theory of the case, and dismiss what doesn't. Those who believe Nolan was harmed on the boat hear distress in the background, hear his name, hear evidence of medical crisis. Those who believe he stayed on the island willingly hear panic about a sinking vessel, nothing more. Same audio, different realities. And the truth is, we might never know which interpretation is correct, because audio forensics has limits. Dr. Carol Owen said it. Different equipment produces different results. Different experts reach different conclusions. That's not a bug. That's a feature of the science. It's subjective by nature. So if law enforcement built part of their case on that audio, would it hold up in court? That's the question prosecutors would have to answer. And right now, based on expert disagreement, the answer is probably no. Defense would just call Robert Freed, have him testify that his software found nothing, that the enhanced version was altered, that pareidolia explains what people think they hear. Reasonable doubt, right there. Unless the FBI or Mississippi Bureau of Investigation does their own analysis, with unredacted files, and reaches a definitive conclusion. Then it becomes expert versus expert, and juries hate that. Because if the people with degrees can't agree, how is someone without training supposed to decide? So the audio, for all the attention it's gotten, might not be legally useful, even if it's emotionally compelling, even if millions of people believe they hear something. Belief isn't evidence, and evidence that can't be proven beyond reasonable doubt doesn't convict. That's the gap the Wells family is staring at. They believe something happened to Nolan on that boat, or right before he was left on the island. The independent autopsy couldn't determine cause of death, but it didn't rule out trauma. The distress call, enhanced, sounds like it might contain references to medical distress. The timeline has gaps, hours unaccounted for, inconsistencies in witness statements according to the family. But none of that is the same as proof. And without proof, there's no arrest, no charges, no trial. So they hired their own experts, commissioned their own autopsy, retained Ben Crump. They're doing what families do when the official investigation doesn't give them closure. They're building a parallel case, not in court, in public. And the audio is their most powerful tool, because it's something people can engage with, can listen to, can form opinions about. It keeps the case alive, keeps pressure on investigators, keeps Nolan's name in the news, whether the audio ultimately proves anything or not. That's strategy, not science. And there's nothing wrong with that. Families deserve to fight for answers, to demand accountability, to use every resource available. But it does mean we have to separate what's being argued in public from what can be proven in court. Those are two very different standards. Public opinion requires persuasion, emotional resonance, a compelling narrative. Court requires evidence, chain of custody, expert testimony that survives cross-examination. Right now, the family is winning in public opinion. The enhanced audio has convinced thousands of people that something is being hidden, that the official story doesn't add up. But in court, that's a different fight, and it hasn't started yet. Let's talk about what happens next. The Wells family has been vocal, organized, strategic. They held a press conference in Tupelo, Mississippi, August 1st, 2026. Ben Crump spoke. Christine Wansley spoke. Nolan's father spoke. They called for transparency, for all evidence to be reviewed by independent authorities. They wore blue, Nolan's color. They brought his face, his story, his humanity into every room they entered. And they've made it clear they're not going away. Crump compared the case to others where initial investigations missed critical evidence, where families had to fight for years to get second looks. He didn't name specific cases, but the implication was clear. Trust but verify, especially when the official story feels incomplete. The family is also working with the National Urban League, with civil rights organizations, building a coalition. That does two things. First, it keeps media attention focused on the case, keeps it from fading into the background. Second, it creates institutional pressure. Organizations with resources and reach asking questions, making calls, demanding updates. That's how cases that might otherwise go cold stay warm. But it also creates tension. Because the Jackson County Sheriff's Office has said, repeatedly, that the investigation is active, ongoing, that they're following every lead. They haven't closed the case, haven't called it an accident and walked away, but they also haven't arrested anyone. And to the family, that feels like inaction, like their son's death isn't being treated with the urgency it deserves. Sheriff Mike Ezel addressed the criticism indirectly. He said his department has conducted dozens of interviews, reviewed hundreds of hours of footage, submitted evidence for analysis, that the case is complex, that rushing to judgment helps no one. He didn't mention the audio specifically, but the message was clear. We're working. We're not ignoring this. But we're also not charging someone without evidence that will hold. Think about the position investigators are in. Massive public pressure, a grieving family, national media attention, and a case where the physical evidence is inconclusive. Witness statements are disputed, and the most talked about piece of evidence, the audio, can't be definitively verified. If they charge someone and the case falls apart at trial, that's it. Double jeopardy, no second chance. So they wait, they build, they look for something concrete. But to a family, waiting feels like abandonment. And in cases like this, both perspectives are valid. Investigators need time to do it right. Families need answers before the grief consumes them. Those needs don't always align. What would you have done if you were the lead investigator? Public screaming for an arrest, family hiring attorneys and experts, audio circulating online that millions of people believe proves foul play. But your forensic team says the audio is inconclusive. Your autopsy says undetermined. Your witnesses all tell the same story, mostly. Do you charge anyway? Hope the jury sees it your way? Or do you keep investigating? Keep looking for the one piece that makes it undeniable? There's no good answer. Because either way, someone's going to feel like justice wasn't served. Here's what we know about the current legal status. No arrests, no charges, no named suspects. The case is classified as an ongoing death investigation. The state autopsy has not been publicly released. Cause and manner of death have not been officially announced. The independent autopsy commissioned by the family found cause and manner undetermined, with a recommendation for further investigation. That's not uncommon. Second autopsies, especially on bodies that have decomposed or already been examined, often can't be conclusive. But Dr. Roger Mitchell noted specific concerns in his report. He couldn't rule out trauma, couldn't rule out foul play, and he recommended that law enforcement treat the case as potentially criminal until proven otherwise. That's significant, because it shifts the burden. It says don't assume accident, assume something happened and investigate accordingly. Whether local authorities took that recommendation seriously is unclear. The phones belonging to Nolan's friends, the ones who were on the trip, have been a point of contention. According to the family, those phones contain text messages, photos, videos from that day and the days following. Ben Crump has called for those phones to be forensically analyzed by outside experts, but whether that's happened or will happen, we don't know. Mississippi law requires a warrant to search someone's phone, and a warrant requires probable cause. If investigators don't believe there's evidence of a crime, they may not have sought those warrants. Or they did, and the contents didn't change their assessment. We don't know, because investigative details aren't public. What we do know is the family feels like critical evidence is being overlooked, and that the people who were last with Nolan have information that could clarify what happened. Whether that information is incriminating, exculpatory, or just context, depends on what's actually there. But the not knowing is what's killing them. Literally killing them. Christine Wansley said she can't sleep, can't eat. Replays every scenario in her mind. She wants to know what her son's last moments were like, whether he was scared, whether he called for help, whether someone could have saved him and didn't. Those are questions the audio was supposed to answer. Or at least, people hoped it would. But instead it just created more questions, more doubt, more division. And that's the cruelest part. The evidence that was supposed to bring clarity brought chaos instead. Here's what happens in cases like this when expert opinion is split. Eventually, someone has to make a call. Either the district attorney decides there's enough to charge, or they don't. If they do, the case goes to trial, and a jury decides what they believe. If they don't, the family can push for federal review, civil litigation, wrongful death claims. But criminal charges require a prosecutor willing to take the risk, and right now, we don't know if that threshold has been met. The DA's office in Jackson County hasn't made a public statement about the case in weeks. No press conferences, no updates, no timelines given. That silence is its own kind of answer. It means either they're still building, or they've decided there's not enough, and they're waiting for the attention to die down before saying so. Families see right through that. They know when a case is being slow-walked, when the energy has shifted from active investigation to maintenance mode. And they fight like hell to keep it from fading. That's where the Wells family is now, fighting to keep Nolan's case front and center, to keep investigators engaged, to keep the public caring. Because once a case stops being news, it stops being a priority. And they can't let that happen. The community has rallied. Vigils on Horn Island, blue ribbons tied to trees, hashtags, fundraisers for the independent investigation. Nolan's friends, the ones not on the boat, have spoken out, said he was loved. Funny, kind, that he didn't deserve this, that his family deserves answers. Local businesses put his picture in windows. Justice for Nolan. It's become more than a case. It's a cause. And causes have momentum. They create pressure. They force action. Whether that action leads to charges remains to be seen. But the family isn't stopping. Ben Crump said it plainly. We will pursue every legal avenue, state, federal, civil, until the truth comes out. That's the fight they're in. Not just for a verdict, for the truth. And the audio, disputed as it is part of that fight. Because even if it can't be used in court, it keeps people asking questions, keeps them wondering, keeps them from accepting the easy answer. And sometimes that's enough. Enough to keep an investigation from closing prematurely, enough to get a second look, enough to make sure nothing gets swept aside. Here's the thing about audio evidence in the digital age. It's everywhere. Ring cameras, dash cams, phones recording constantly. We're living in the most documented era in human history, and we assume that means truth is easier to find. But cases like this prove the opposite. More evidence doesn't mean more clarity. Sometimes it just means more interpretation, more ways to see the same thing differently, more tools for confirmation bias to thrive. The audio from the CTO call is a perfect example. It exists, it's real, it was recorded in real time. But what it actually contains, that depends on who you ask. And in a justice system that requires proof beyond reasonable doubt, depends on who you ask doesn't cut it. So the case sits. The investigation continues, officially. The family pushes relentlessly, and the audio plays on loop, enhanced and analyzed and debated, with no resolution in sight. Christine Wansley said something in an interview that stays with you. I just want to hear his voice one more time. To know what he was thinking, whether he knew we were looking for him. That's what this is really about. Not forensic analysis, not expert testimony. A mother trying to reach her son across the gap between life and death. And the audio, flawed as it is the closest she can get. Because even if it doesn't say what people claim, even if it's just noise and chaos and a sinking boat, it's from that day, from those hours. It's a piece of the world her son was still in. And she'll listen to it 1,000 times if she has to, looking for him in the static. We'll keep following this until there are real answers, until the experts agree, or until law enforcement makes their findings public, or until a courtroom decides what's true. Because Nolan Wells was 18 years old. He had a family who loved him, friends who miss him, a future that got stolen. And whether the audio says, is he dead or not, that part is undeniable. He's gone, and someone knows why. The question we're sitting with today is the same one we started with. Can science tell us what's real, or are we all just hearing what we want to hear? In this case, the answer might be both, and that's the tragedy. Not just that Nolan died, but that the evidence meant to explain it only deepened the mystery. Subscribe if you want updates when this case moves forward, and leave a comment. Now that you've heard both expert positions, what do you believe the audio actually contains?